From the top rope, this is the Squared Circus.
Square! That's the cult phenomenon. You know what I think?
Recording in progress.
I realize I like paint.
That was a botch. Hold on.
So, anyway, that's how it's gonna go.
How is the thing?
So
Say the things.
So I didn't watch all of Dark, but my rants is going to be because, when you watching Dark, and I think I messaged you, I said, why is Claudio on Dark? Why is Eddie Kingston once again on Dark? Why is all these people? Clearly, they know they have a huge ass roster, and the thing that gets to me is, okay, I'm sorry, I had to go. I had to do it.
I don't know. I'm like, no, my head is just making dumb jokes about huge asses and rosters. I don't know.
because the rosters, they need the Ring of Honor shit now because it's getting ridiculous where we're seeing people on Dark. And I'm not saying that Dark is good for people who want to keep on, like, I feel like that's great for newer people or people who just want to wrestle. So maybe Eddie Kingston just wants to wrestle and say, okay, blah, blah, blah. But he has not. He's been on in the TV spots, and I know there's a repeated thing with Eddie Kingston. But he's been maybe said 2 sentences in fucking like a month. Yeah. He had that one skit that he had, and he just stood there, and people were like, "What's going on?" Blah blah blah. And he said 2 sentences, and then he walks away. Okay, Claudio. As soon as he lost the belt, he's been gone. I did see that there was a match with him and the other Black Bean bullshit this Wednesday. They're fighting against Jericho and Garcia, I believe it was.
Yeah,
that's out of nowhere because there was no one talking. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so that match too was like they feel like they put the Blackpool people into like shit that has nothing to do with anything. But
they'll probably pay. They'll probably do something with the whole Yuta. I don't know, like things getting like weird with the Blackpool Combat Club. Something will happen, or with Garcia. I don't know. I have a feeling it's not going to just be a match. It's going to serve some aspect of the story they're trying to tell with the unrest in the Blackpool Combat Club.
But my whole point is that like we shouldn't see all these people on Dark. Right. I understand that sometimes they do that to get Dark a little bit more views and this and that or whatever. But I just don't understand when you have, especially Eddie, and I know I sound like a broken record, but he's probably one of the top 5, top 8 people that gets chanted. That was the one match I did watch on Dark, and it was a very short match, and they chanted his name like 2 or 3 times of the whole match, and it was only like a 5-minute match.
I didn't watch Dark. Who did he wrestle?
He was wrestling with it was him and Ortiz against 2 people I have fucking no idea who.
Okay.
You probably do, but I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea who. So I watched it. It was a quick squash match type of thing. They're doing this whole angle with him like freaking as soon as the bell it rings and they win, he keeps on going and starts beating up people after the ring to maybe disqualify him. But right. my point being, after, because I get so many rants with fucking Eddie, is that
it's our theme.
Yeah, it is the theme now of this podcast. We should just change it to Eddie fucking Kingston.
Yeah.
But why is it that he's there? He's one of the top 5, top 7 people that gets chanted, and he's nowhere to be found on TV. Yeah. If you're looking for ratings, this is what I'm saying. It goes back to, if you're looking for ratings and look for people to chant and things like that, you would think you would put these people on.
Well, that I think is a separate discussion, because what gets over in the live show, it's not necessarily what gets ratings, right? And I don't know that Eddie gets a low rating or a high rating during his segments. I'm not sure. But obviously, the core audience loves him. The people who pay to go to see the shows, people like you and me who take time out of their schedules to make a fucking podcast. People like us love him, but the casual viewer, I don't know, right? And that's why certain people get pushed that we never would think should get pushed, because maybe they get a rating I don't know. Like this was an issue with Roman Reigns back in the day where the crowd didn't want to see him, but there was a reason they were pushing him. He was selling the most merch, whatever. I don't know. He was popular in other countries, right? So I'm not saying you're right or you're wrong. I think to me, it's a whole other podcast episode. Like, what does it mean to book for ratings? And is it like a self-defeating endeavor?
I get that because we could go on because when he first got freaking signed, they said that never happened before when all the freaking internet went crazy about him saying you have to sign him, you have to sign him, you have to sign him. So it's not just
but that's people, the hardcore fans too. That's the people who are going on Twitter who talk about wrestling every day. What we're talking about is people scrolling through the channels on their remote and stopping or not on a wrestling show. I mean, we've talked about before. There's always going to be about 900,000 people who watch AEW, and they're always going to be watching every weekend. It doesn't matter. Obviously, they drop below that every now and then, but Dynamite is reliably about 900,000. They want the other 200, 300,000 of randoms, the mainstream people who are not the nerds like us, who are just like, know every single thing and are looking for like Eddie Kingston because he talks good and has these good matches. Those people might want to see somebody like that we're critical of, like a Jade Cargill, because she looks like an action figure, No,
and I, like I said, I get that, but I have a feeling that anywhere they go in any city, when they're chanting his name, I'm guarantee you that most people do want to see him. Because this is all I'm reading in the articles. I hear a lot of articles saying why is he only getting like 1 minute here, or why is it like so it's not like it's. But overall, this whole rant that went on to a rampage is that they need to have a Ring of Honor show quickly, because I feel like they need to have we've been saying this all the time. They need to have another show. There's way too many people, and you can't just rely on YouTube. I am sorry, like the YouTube shows are not going to cut it. I'm sure that people are not liking that. Like Ruby, I know Ruby's hurt, but like think about Ruby is always on there when she was on there, and then you have all these people that's just constantly just on there.
I mean, it's a weird situation. I like the idea that they have the YouTube shows, right? They call it Dark because basically these are the matches you wouldn't see. The implication is like these are the matches you would never have seen before. But now in 2022, we have the internet and YouTube, and we have all these resources that we can put a live wrestling show on YouTube. So let's just air those Dark matches. So like that idea is cool. The problem is, to some degree, just calling it Dark makes it feel less important, because the idea of a dark match is something that's like, we just threw this in for the live show. It's not important to what's going on with our stories and our championship runs and people pursuing belts and all that stuff, right? Because the television viewer is never going to see it. So it doesn't have the importance of the matches that are on television. So just by calling it Dark, it loses some importance. But then also the way it's presented is also kind of, lacking in importance, because you get all of the enhancement talent on there. You get the developmental talent on there. So it's like, what do you do with it? I like the idea that it's there. You can't just put all developmental people and enhancement people on there. So you're going to get Claudio's and Eddie's on there sometimes. But you don't want to, where it starts to look bad, I think, is really when like that's where you see them more than on TV.
Yeah. Yep.
But the idea of just like putting somebody on Dark, like Kenny Omega's not on Dark. He's not anywhere right now, but like CM Punk was never on Dark, was he? I don't think so.
No. That's what I mean. They treat it differently, and I agree with you. Where like I do like the fact that how they do that, where you get to see more stuff and this and that or whatever. But again, what you said is that if you're only seeing them on Dark and they're all disappeared, you're like, okay. something, and maybe because I know that what was it? They have Dark and Dark Evolution. Is that what it is?
Elevation.
Sorry, I always call it Evolution for some reason. Elevation. Change it where just a regular Dark is just all the new people trying to get out and blah blah blah, and the Elevation ones. Then yes, you could have certain matches like before, and you do that. I could see that, but sometimes you don't even have that. Like most of the jobbers and everything is fighting. You know, the Eddies and the Claudios. That's what I saw today, and you're like, that makes sense. But at the same time, if you get a, like, I don't know, I just think they need to do a little bit something differently.
Elevation out of the darkness, out of the deep of the darkness.